Hi, I'm Mike from 1A Auto. We've been selling auto parts for over 30 years.
With the vehicle on the ground, you use a breaker bar and a 22mm socket to loosen the lug nuts. Raise and support your vehicle with the jack and jack stands. And we're using our 2-post lift. Use the socket, finish removing the lug nuts. All right, seats to the hub. Take a couple lug nuts, just thread them on lightly. Use a dead blow or a rubber mallet. Hit on the tire, it'll knock it free. Lug nuts will keep the wheel from falling off. Now it's loose, so you finish taking the lug nuts off. Just gonna support it so it doesn't fall. I'm gonna grab the hub and knuckle and just turn it out this way so it's a little easier to see what I'm doing. Take a large flat-bladed screwdriver, kind of wedge it in here. We're gonna pull the brake caliper out and compress the pistons. This way, when I go to remove the caliper slide bolts, the caliper will come off the pistons easier. There's 13mm bolts on the top, on the bottom and the top. I'm gonna remove these using a 13mm box wrench and break them free. Put these bolts aside, reuse them. Slide the caliper off. Just rest it like that. Grab a bungee cord. That can sit right there. I just don't want it to hang on this rubber hose. You can damage it. Here are our brake pads, pretty well worn. Just kind of slide them out of the hardware. If they don't want to come out that easily, you can just use the flat-bladed screwdriver, pop them out. I'm not worried about damaging the surface of them because I'm replacing them. You need to remove the bottom and top caliper mounting bolts. They are 21mm. I'm using a large ratchet. Break them free. Before I take that one all the way out, break this one free. I'll hold on to the bracket, take the bolt out, and pull the whole bracket out. You need to remove the screw that's holding the rotor to the hub. It's a T30 Torx. T30 Torx bit. Pull that out, reuse it. See if this comes free. Nope. Rusted there. Let's spray some rust penetrant in here. A little bit in here, try to work it down between the rotor and the hub. You can go around the wheel studs. Put a thread on a lug nut because I don't want the rotor to fall, but not all the way. I want to have it so it has some space to move. And I'll take a dead blow and just knock the rotor. Might take one hit, could take a bunch of hits. You just got to do it till it comes free. We're replacing these rotors, so I'm not too worried about damaging them. Here's our original pad and rotors from our vehicle, and our brand new ones from 1AAuto.com. They're an exact match for the originals. You can see how worn out these are compared to the new ones. They've got the same wear indicator in them. Same bolt pattern, same screw hole opening. These will fit great and work great on our vehicle. We're gonna clean and reuse our caliper hardware. It's stainless, just needs to be cleaned up. Use some brake parts cleaner, a wire brush and a rag. You can also check your slide pins to make sure they're operating. They should pull out with some resistance, but move in and out nice and smoothly. These ones do. We're gonna leave them alone. No need to take them out and grease them. Just take some brake parts cleaner. Spray it down. Use a wire brush. And also clean it down with a rag. Do the same for both sides. We could reuse our caliper mounting bolts. We just need to clean off the old thread locker. So we use some brake parts cleaner. Spray it down and the wire brush. Clean up both of them. Just make sure you get it all off of there. If you have access to it, you can use a 14x2 thread die, and we'll thread this in here and we'll clean the threads out. But the other method, you can just use a wire brush. And this should thread in pretty easily. You may need to put a sock on it, but it will clean all of the junk out of the threads. That's cleaned all the old thread locker out of there. You can see it's all in the die now. I put the rotor on backwards. Clean down the oil that they're packed in so they don't flash rust. Use brake parts cleaner. Wipe off any excess with a rag. Flip the rotor over. If your hub was extremely rusty, now would be the time to clean it. Take a wire brush, clean this all off. This one's in good shape. I'm gonna leave it alone. I want to line up the threaded hole here with the opening in the rotor. That's for the retention screw. That right in place. Install the screw. Just tighten it down. It's not a lot of torque. It's just to hold the rotor in place while you work. And you clean out the front of the rotor. Same thing, it's packaged with oil to prevent it from flash rusting. Before I reinstall the bracket, I'm going to take some medium strength thread locker and apply it to the threads of the caliper bracket bolts. Do this to both of them. Reinstall the bracket. Get it lined up. I'm going to get the top one caught first. I may need to move the bracket around, thread it in by hand. Use the socket to tighten these down. I'm going to torque the caliper bracket bolts to 129 foot-pounds. When it clicks, you've reached the correct torque. Just make sure that the brake pad surface is nice and clean, has no grease or dirt on it. Just going to give it a light spray with some brake parts cleaner, you don't need to soak it. Apply some brake caliper grease to the ears. The brake pad with a wear indicator will go on the inside. The outside curve will match the outside curve of the rotor. I'll switch hands here. I'll slide it right into the clips. Just pull them into place. Do the same thing for the outer pad. I'm using a large C-clamp and an old brake pad. We need to compress the two pistons back into the caliper. You don't need to crack the bleeder screw. You don't need to remove the brake line. You may have some fluid come out at the master cylinder because if there's too much fluid in the system, it has come down to fill up the extra space that is left by having these pistons this far out and these pads worn down. You may have to go up and take some out of the master cylinder, or you'll have some spill out and you'll just have to clean it up. So we're going to compress this in, just turn. I've taken it off of the bungee cord. I'm just going to gently turn this in, little by little. The pistons will start to retract The reasons why we have to compress these pistons, because these new pads are a lot thicker and you won't be able to get the caliper back on if the pistons are all the way out. You can also see these are going in nice and easy. So that tells me the caliper's in good shape, pistons aren't seized. The pad's starting to get down, I can see the seals are starting to squish out. That's about as far as I need to go. I don't need to go all the way in. So I'm going to remove this. Put the pad aside. Clamp out of here. Don't forget your bungee cord that's hanging on the suspension. Get rid of that. The caliper can go back onto the bracket. The slide pins do have a flat spot. It's going to match the flat spot on the caliper, so you may need to turn them, both the top and the bottom. Down looks like good. That will sit in place. Reinstall the bolts. Torque the caliper slide pin bolts to 47 foot-pounds. Once it clicks, it's exactly where it needs to be. You don't need to go any further. Install the lug nuts by hand. Just going to use the socket, thread these down, and we'll retorque them with the vehicle on the ground. Torque the lug nuts in a cross pattern to 140 foot-pounds. Before you start and move the vehicle, gently press on the brake pedal. This will bring the caliper, the cylinders out that we've compressed to meet the pads. And you'll feel it start to build up pressure. You don't need to smash it to the floor. Just gently pump it until it builds up pressure. Just like that.
Thanks for watching. Visit us at oneauto.com for quality auto parts, fast and free shipping, and the best customer service in the industry.